Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is CT intake training. This is essentially going to be the new patient intake with the new forms and how to input it into their SOAP note, chart note within ChiroTouch. So we're going to use the Harry James A. Potter as our fake patient. You should have the notes in front of you, and I'm going to take you step by step. So first thing that we're going to note is that this is a different macro set or button set that you guys have been using. It has everything that we used as previous to it, but nothing that we didn't use. So mine automatically pops up as asking me which SOAP note. You, and as you've seen in Dr. Beeson's, is automatically a SOAP note that gets brought up. So this is what the new subjective portion of the SOAP note within the ChiroTouch looks like, and this is the new macro set. So for a new patient intake, you go to 8 intake up at the top. Remember, red buttons mean it leads to more buttons. It's a menu button. Blue buttons, like these over here on the left, will input information. So click intake. You always want to choose this middle one, like 90% of the time, unless it's a MVA work comp, and then we'll get to those in the future. The basic is just pretty basic. So any insurance, any information that we usually gather is going to fit into this insurance one. So click history insurance. You start with the chief complaint E&M, and then it will populate. So based on this, he's had this complaint between 5 and 30 days, so it's subacute. And just follow along. First complaint location's in his neck. And it started, he has on 12/12/17. So as you can see, dates are pretty easily just written in, or a year ago or 2 years ago. And his mechanism of injury was a sports injury. So scroll down. As you can see, there's this Beeson thing right here. This delineates a line between what ChiroTouch already had in and then the special things that follow exactly word for word of what is in our intake forms. So we put in a sports injury. One more. Frequency of pain. Fall along here is 50 to 70% of the time. And he describes it as sharp and tingling. So you can type that in pretty quickly if you didn't want to select them. And he has this radiates the right arm and hand. So you can scroll through here. And this is all on the right side. So radiating to the front of the right hand most closely matches. And he says it has worsened since the start. And on the pain scale, it is a 7. So this does jump around compared to the paper a little bit, but it follows along as closely as it possibly can. And it's aggravated by almost any movement. Any past episodes? No. And he has received care. No, he has not. Activity of daily living most affected. We have driving down. Driving was his specific. And so with this, if he's able to drive like 20 minutes comfortably, that would be kind of what you'd want to put here. So let's say he can drive 5 minutes. And he has an additional complaint. So you would click the top line. And then you click second complaint. So if you turn to the next page, this complaint is more than 30 days. And this is low back. It started August 2017. And it was after sleeping. He has occasional pain marked, and the quality is described as aching. It's non-radiating, and it has remained the same, or stayed the same. On the pain scale, he gave it a 3. So as you can see, you just follow along pretty simply. It's relieved by heat, and worse with bending. Past history. No. And he did receive past care, and he just didn't list what. So let's put cataract. Daily activity most affected is sleeping for him. So, but also bending over. He only sleeps about 3 hours a night. And this was the last complaint, so you select no additional concerns relayed by the patient. And there you have it. The history for the 2 complaints should both be in there. So now you'd move on to past health history, kind of review of systems. So you click up here, review of systems, ROS, and health history. It's going to start with any surgical history, and you just put that he had fracture, right arm, in the 2000. And then you can turn to the next page, and he is taking an NSAID, Advil, and any vitamins and supplements. He listed Calm and vitamin C, so you can scroll down. So this is going to jump around between this last bit of pages more than any others, but if they didn't list any other health conditions or past illnesses, no change in family history, kind of none reported is a good option. Past history and traumas. This is the one that resulted in fracture of the right arm, fell while playing a sport. You know, if they have that specifically written or if it was asked. So, and then this gets into parents, which is on the review of systems, family history, mother's deceased. If there's no known history or they didn't select any of those boxes, there's an empty space right here that you can check. Father's also deceased. No known health conditions. So if they do know there's no history, you could always put denies history of. He had no brothers and no sisters. So if they don't have any sisters, you don't need to put denies history of. Just select that blank box. This patient is a student. You can find that on the front page. Smoking, he's never smoked. And then alcohol, he does not drink alcohol. And he drinks, caffeine's at the bottom, 1 cup of caffeine. 1 cup of caffeine in the morning. Exercise routine, he put unable to due to pain, which is right here. And then this clicks it in. So if you scroll back up, the review of systems is going to have been put in as denies history of for every single one. This is that page where you have all the list of the boxes. So automatically to put denies history of, and then you just need to go through and change the ones that do have any changes. So for instance, musculoskeletal, he does have headaches, so you just click on that. Be sure to unclick the denies history of and click the one that he has. So musculoskeletal, he has a stiff neck and backache currently. So now backache and stiff neck now. General neurological. In the past, he had headaches, so unclick denies history of, past headaches, and now pain and numbness in the limb. So as you can see, there's the two options, past and now for each one. Just be sure you click on the correct one. So in the past, he has had asthma. So scroll down to the Beeson part. For all the review systems, pretty much I kept what those are in the system, and then I added an R. So you should always look for this Beeson thing right here. And then past asthma. And it should follow along in the correct order, majority of the time. Respiratory, he had denies history of, so that doesn't need to change. GI, he has denies history of, doesn't need to change. That doesn't need to change. Endocrine doesn't need to change. Sensitivity, women's health. So women's health is going to always populate as other. Other tells you to look because this needs to change, or look because something needs to happen with this area. So women's health, he is a male, can be deleted. Okay, and we can scroll through, make sure everything has that information, and then scroll back up just to double check that there are no other. So no other here. See patient subjective goals, there is an other here. So automatically puts other and to have no functional limitations. If that patient has very specific goals, like to relieve pain or to sleep throughout the night without pain, it's good to click that. So we're going to have no functional limitations on the neck. And then for the low back, select this, other, and unselect that, and to sleep throughout the night without pain is his goal. Up above, you can see the ADL and functional deficits. Explains sleeping has become difficult. Also, when bending over, if he does this for more than 3 hours. Because this one is just a little bit awkward, depending on the system, just kind of read through it and make sense and help it make sense. So, explain sleeping has become more difficult. Also, when bending over, when he does this more than 3 hours. If it's like, or gardening. And then you can save this, and that is his new patient intake for a new patient for the subjective portion. And as you can see, looks pretty simple.